What's up guys, it's Town here. Today's video we're going to be ranking every single controller player on NA East, and I'm going to be taking into account their whole resume as well as their recent resume. Alright, let's just jump in. First of all, we're going to be taking a look at the first controller player that I see on this list, and I'm going to see that is AV. AV, I would say, was much more prominent and earlier to mid Chapter 2. Chapter 3, he's still been consistently playing. I think he actually did make grands last season or the season before that. I've seen him a little bit more. I'd put him maybe, I would put him, he's never really been a top controller player, definitely not tier 1. I think I'm going to stick him in tier 3, and at the end of this list, I'll kind of fine tune everything. Next up, we have Bank. Again, I think Bank has had a higher ceiling than AV, but Bank has been nowhere near as good. I don't think he even consistently plays, so I'm going to put him more in the wash category. Now, again, no disrespect to any of these players, and this is also just my opinion. You can comment down below if you think I got anything wrong or what you would have put differently. Builds, I think Builds either quit or has moved to no builds, so I think I'm going to put him in the this category. Bully, I think Bully is also quit, or he's more in the washed. I'm going to put him down here. Now, Bully was probably maybe more in that tier 2, tier 3 range. Cam, you can make an argument with his kind of explosion in Chapter 3. He's definitely someone at this current moment. Now, he doesn't have a resume from Chapter 2. He doesn't have a resume for Chapter 1 like some of the players on this list, but Cam has been arguably the best solo player in the world. Maybe you want to argue with Malibuca, but there are no solos this season. Cam probably hasn't shined as much. He hasn't found that team success to put him into that top 5 range, but as a solo player, I think you have to, with his Chapter 3 solo resume, with him winning so many events, coming top 5, and basically winning back-to-back weeks, you have to put him currently as a tier 1 controller player right now. And some of those controller players that maybe have been good are still going to get boosts for their previous resumes, but I think you have to put him at tier 1 right now. And I think he could be top 5 if he ever does find success in a finals or FNCS format. I'm looking down on the list. I'm trying to see if I see anything. Collazo unfortunately quit. I actually got to meet Collazo at TwitchCon. Really, he's tall. He's a taller guy. He was actually taller than I thought he was. He's quit and moved on to Apex, which is incredibly unfortunate, but he was really good in the early Chapter 2 days. Coop, I think, is the epitome of washed. No disrespect to Coop, but I ever since him winning FNCS, I don't think he's made any type of impact. I think the last finals he made was with Bizzle in Chapter 2 season 8 or 7. Hasn't really done anything in Chapter 3. Just one of the kind of most random FNCS winners in my opinion. Maybe see some more consistency out of him in the future, but for right now, I'm going to be putting him in the wash category. Next up, we have Death. Now, I think Death is tier 3. I think he's good in team modes. I haven't really seen too much of him. He doesn't have a huge solo resume. He doesn't have a Chapter 2 resume, so I'm going to put him in tier 3 for now. Let's see, who else do we have? Deroller, I think you put tier 2. Has definitely had some highlight moments. Had a very nice clutch to qual in the reboot rounds. Very consistent. I put him right at tier 2. Now, next up, we have Day, and I think I'm going to change this to top 3, actually, just because of the fact that there is a very little amount of controller players on this specific list, and just overall in general. Day, I think you have to put him, you could argue, all-time top 3. Chapter 3 resume, not that great. So he might be bumped down in the tier 1 category, but I mean, you have to think all time with his Chapter 2 resume, so far easily a top 5 player. Now, Dusky is another one I recognize on this list, but he has quit, I'm pretty sure. If not, if I also got that wrong, who knows? Flamers is also quit. He's a controller player. Furious, man, Furious is one of the great, I would say, in my opinion, most underrated controller players. Fantastic mechanics and aim. FNCS Invitational winning. He just kind of got a lot of hate because it was during the Chapter 2 Season 2 where aim assist was absolutely crazy. He went crazy in the daily cups with FaZe Sway on his come up, but unfortunately he has also quit the game and hasn't touched it even in Chapter 3, so I have to put him in the quit category. It's really sad that the most of this list is kind of just given up. Controller has kind of gone down and down as the game has moved away. I'm trying to look here and see if Jays, I also think Jays has quit as well, so put him in the quit category. Unfortunate. One of the best console players He may have gone to no builds. I can't remember if that's builds or J's, but I also believe he's quit, which is a very, very unfortunate. Justice quit for a while. He's the FNCS winner with Dukes and Users, one of the most, again, kind of random, just winning trios in kind of Fortnite history. He's came back, so I'm going to put him in the wash category. I don't believe he's qualified or done anything since coming back. Hasn't been playing with tier 1s as well. Moving on, we have Knight. Again, very, very unfortunate that he quit. Rogue Sharks duo, I believe he had one top 5 FNCS, nearly won it in the chapter 2 days, but fortunately not doing too well anymore. Next up on this list, I believe what we have here is the GOAT, undisputed best controller player in the world, in my opinion. It's not even close. No one has his resume. It's Miro. He's top 1. He's, in my opinion, the best player overall in the world. What he does on his input, no other controller player has done. He's won multiple DHs. He's won multiple cash cups. He's won multiple FNCSs. He can do it in all modes. He nearly won last FNCS. If it wasn't from a crazy clutch from Kamehameha, would have had another ring. Got 2nd place, 4th place, and then 1st place thus far in chapter 3. Not to mention the amount of times he's won in chapter 2. By far the best resume out of anybody in the entire world on controller. I'm going to look in as well. I'm trying to see if I see anybody else. I don't see anyone else. Nut, I believe. No, Nut is not controller. That's Nutify. Nix, Okus. Okus has won a couple of cash cups. Really hasn't had that team success. But he does have that solo resume, and I would put him over Deroller. I wouldn't put him in tier 1 yet. So put him at tier 2. Let's see. Nick Nosh, Not Panda, Oliver OG, Osp, Al. Man, I think Al, you have to really respect the grind. I'm going to put him probably, he's been super consistent. I mean, Al's a chapter 1 grinder. I mean, you could see him dying in World Cup qualifiers. He's also hybrid, and unfortunately recently got diagnosed with cancer and is still playing, and actually I believe has qualified for recent solo cash. I put him in the tier 2 category. I'd definitely put him above AV, and I'll put him over Deroller, but I'll put him under Okus. But really impressive what he's doing with his cancer diagnosis and still being able to grind and play. So big shout out to Al, man. Hope he recovers and things get well. Next up, we have Pump. Pump is known for probably having one of the best controller aim in the game. Not the craziest mechanics, not the most flashy, definitely mechanical for sure, but incredibly just accurate. You know, people have always accused him of cheating. He hasn't had as much solo success as Okies, but he's had a lot more team success. So I'm going to put him over Okies, and I think you can make a case either way, flip-flop, but I'm going to put Pump behind Cam for right now for tier 1. And I think Cam, the more and more I kind of go over this list, is going to kind of go into that tier 1 category. Looking here, Scoped. Now, Scoped, he's kind of made more of a transition to no build. He's made more of a transition to content creation. But Scope's prime is super high. His prime is definitely better than AV's. His prime is better than Death. You can make an argument. This is where it's tough. I think I need to put him in tier 2 just because his chapter 3 resume is not that good. And these chapter 3 resumes for these other players are better. But Scoped definitely had a higher peak than all these players in tier 2. But because his tier 3, I'll put him... I'm going to put him in here in tier 1 just because of his chapter 2 resume. He was regarded as the most feared controller player in cash cups at one point, kind of like Reet was at one point. And Reet's not on this list because it's NA East. Reet would definitely probably, you can make an argument for top 3. All right, let's see if I recognize anybody else. Squish. So Squish I would put in 3, I believe. So Squish is a member of Cubex, or formerly KNG. Definitely have to put him more in the tier 3, I think, out of everyone thus far and all these controller players. Like, he's not washed, but he just doesn't have a huge resume, you know what I'm saying? Look at all these names down here. We have Tabney, Tabs, D, Tahi, Tetra, Teo, Tico, TK. Ooh, TK, this is a good one. So TK, he's good in solo. He's done really well in solo cash cups. He's done really well in team modes. I think you have to put him in the tier 1 category. I think you could even make an argument to put him ahead of Pump because he's had a little bit more solo success. And I think I'm going to put him in tier 2 or tier 1, sorry. I think this is looking pretty balanced. I still don't know if I like scoped in tier 1, but I'll do it at the end. I'll kind of reevaluate. And there's some players on this list who I don't know, so if I did miss some controller players, I do apologize. Next up is 20, member of YJM. Pretty solid player. I would put him kind of in this tier 3 category. I'd put him ahead of Squish, but maybe, I don't know. You could flip-flop him at death. I don't really know too much. He doesn't have that Chapter 2 resume. He's been relatively more recent in the Chapter 3 scene, but just due to AV's Chapter 2 resume, I'm going to put him just behind AV's Chapter 2 resume. Let's see who else. Who Fishy, man. Who Fishy, probably one of the most underrated controller players in the game. Some of the smoothest mechanics you'll see. Usually you'll see very fast mechanics on something on most controller players. He just has buttery smooth mechanics. Brother of Styx, and he's made the most consistent grand finals with Kaz against someone that has a huge Chapter 2 resume. I would put Who Fishy probably over Scoped, and I think now based on this, I'm gonna put Scoped in tier 2, just behind Okies, just because they're current. Now Who Fishy hasn't had his greatest success in Chapter 3, but the level of consistency was insane. In terms of team modes, I believe him and Kaz have the most consistently qualified grand finals, and I believe he does IGL as well, which definitely gives him a boost. Let's see, visuals Voil, except Zuni's. Zuni's quit, unfortunately. Zuni's had smooth, like, different mechanics. Zuni's was elite. I feel like Zuni's just someone that never reached their ceiling. Like, if he had just found the right teammate, he had crazy mechanics. I loved watching Zuni's all the time. He would just go in and just dominate. Next up, I think Zlem's controller. I'm not sure, but I know this is tier 3. I believe this is Peter. Not Peter. What's his name? Dignitas. One of Dignitas's players. I can't remember his name for some reason. But I would probably put him. So same in that Squish category. I'd probably put him just like a really solid, but just doesn't have a huge resume to really go off of, that you can kind of put him ahead of any of these other players on here. Plague, Savage, Goku, Hapt, Illust, again, not having that Chapter 3 success, but you have to respect, he was one of the most consistent controller players in Chapter 2, so I'll put him in tier 2. I would probably take Illust over Scope. I don't know why. I just got Scoped. I think is just with what he's transitioned to is really hard to rate, because at Chapter 2 he was one of the most dominant. Around that season 3, season 4 was just one of the most dominant controller players on the planet. And some of these guys haven't been there, but they've been a lot more consistent. So I think you could make a case. I think I like that a little bit more. Let's see, Zum, Skittles, Aspect, Mudsy, Crazy G's, Dom, Moo, Redux, Twix, Barber. I'm telling you, a lot of these aren't familiar. I know I've already done this list, and not every controller player is on here, but a lot of these names down below. Oh, Nexy, unfortunately. I loved watching Nexy's videos when he was a huge arena grinder. Made a lot of grand finals, played with Mars OW, but he's officially quit as well. Playify, I would have to put him in the tier 3 category, someone that's kind of made a name for himself in Chapter 3. But he has a lot better resumes in Chapter 3 than most. I think I'd put him up right here. Chapter 2 with AV's resume, just he's had such a longer. Playify, I think, is someone that is definitely stock is trending upwards. It could really notch himself into that tier 2 category, for sure. And I'm gonna just do a quick scan over of everyone, make sure I haven't missed anybody. And again, if I missed anybody, I don't even know them. They're not well known. And this is not the most recent, list. This is just one with all the names that makes this so much easier instead of having to figure out, pictures. I think Fierd is also a controller who quit, but I'm not 100% certain. Let me see. And I think that's going to be it for the most part. I don't think I missed anybody that's super well known for the most part. I think all of these people are, again, most of them are going to be keyboard and mouse, but I just wanted to get the controller players some love, as a fellow controller player. And I'm going to kind of tweak this list. Cam, I think, definitely deserves to be top 3. With these resumes on East, it's obviously Mirror Day are going to be your kind of 1 and 2. And I think TK has, the most, just because of Cam's just solo dominance. Again, he's just been one of the most consistent players in all of Chapter 3, so it's really hard to put TK above. I think I like this list. Maybe Who Fishy is a little bit high, and maybe Illis is a little bit high. But I think I like this list overall. If you think that I missed anybody or disagree, let me know down below. Tell me what you would have changed if I did anybody wrong or if I overrated some people. But I hope you guys enjoyed this tier list ranking, and I'll catch you in the next one.